What's up guys, Moneth here, and I'm back for another video. This time around we're covering Nat versus Ajna for Smogon Snake Draft. And looking at the matchup here, Ajna appears to be using a fairly typical build for his tendencies with a bit of a, let's call it a flavor pick in Aerodactyl. Looking at the team, I reckon it should probably be Stealth Rock, Nidoqueen, Scarf, Metagross. The reason why I'm saying Scarf Metagross is just because you want something that can consistently check faster threats like Nidoqueen, not Nidoqueen, sorry, Virizion, Salazzle, Sceptile even, because Mega Sceptile can be a huge threat to this team if it isn't Scarf Metagross. Because a lot of them tend to run Protect, which leaves Jellicapod as a very lackluster offensive check. And then it's probably Stealth Rock, Nidoqueen, an offensive Jellicapod of sorts, either Citrus Berry, Choice Band, Insect Plate, something like that, maybe with Spikes. And then we've got the Virizion, it's a setup variant of some sort. I haven't decided whether it's SD or Z move. Oh, sorry, SD or Calm Mind. It's probably the Z move user. Then, standard Spin Blastoise. And then the last is going to be some sort of cleaning Aerodactyl, whether that be like Hone Claws, Choice Band, etc. Looking at Nat's team, it's obviously Stealth Rock, Registeel with some sort of tech to deter physical attackers that can overwhelm the rest of the team, whether that be like Counter, Earthquake, Iron Head, whatever. Just something that makes it a little bit less of a sitting duck against the offensive threats that can take its seismic tosses, just because of the relative passivity of this team. And then, like I said, should be Scarf Nidoqueen to kind of secure your matchup against Virizion, as well as checking the aforementioned Salazzle from an offensive standpoint. And then, Ditto's Ditto, it's just kind of here so that certain threats can't get out of hand. Probably a semi-physically defensive Mandibuzz, just to make sure you don't get overwhelmed by fighting types. And then, probably a fairly bulky, like Calm Mind, Necrozma. I assume that's the Z move user with Z Fire. Anyways, let's jump right into this. So Ajna leads off with Jellicapod just because it's the fact that he led off with it leads me to believe it's something that can do a ton of damage off the bat, like Choice Band or Insect Plate. Because Citrus Berry's first impressions are fairly weak compared to those two, so they can't do as much damage to something like Mandibuzz or Necrozma or even Nidoqueen, or Registeel for that matter. So that leads me to believe it's something like Choice Band. And then looking at Nat's lead, she decided to lead off with a Vaporeon, probably just because it has a decent enough matchup against everything besides Virizion. Obviously, Ajna does not want to take a Scald and let the Jellicapod get burnt, so he's probably going to pivot out to Viriz. And looking at, oh sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, but looking at both of the teams, a potential Choice Band Aerodactyl as well as an offensive Nidoqueen are definitely Ajna's two most threatening members. If the Virizion is either SDZ Grass or Calm Mind, it could definitely put in some work, but it really needs to muscle past both Nidoqueen and Necrozma, so it's a bit less of a threat. I suppose if it spikes Jellicapod and you get up all your layers, Metagross could be an issue, but with Mandibuzz I just don't think it's getting up layers consistently. Now here, Ajna switches into Virizion directly into a Vaporeon, so that leads me to believe he does not mind taking a Scald with this, Scald Burn specifically, so it's probably Calm Mind. And then looking at the switch to Mandibuzz, he looks like he elected to switch out there just because he didn't wanna, she rather, didn't want to lose momentum. And basically the air quotes double switch to Mandibuzz allows you to cover the Verizian switch. Now, Ajna goes directly into Aerodactyl on the Mandibuzz on the knockoff. Very good knockoff from Nat, because obviously without Choice Band that thing is much weaker. Cannot break through Vaporeon. Probably doesn't even 2-hit KO this. And generally just is not that great compared to Choice Band. And then, so that was a great play by Nat, and then Ajna elects to switch back into Nidoqueen, knowing, yeah, this thing doesn't, while it can avoid the 2-hit KO from Stone Edge, doesn't really want to play around with crits and stuff like that from turn 3. So it's probably going to switch into something like Vaporeon or Registeel to just take the edge. The Nidoqueen just gets its rocks up, as Registeel also does. Ajna is just going to fire off an Earth Power free of charge, as most Stealth Rock Nidoqueens really should be running Thunder to punish Mandibuzz and Blastoise. So, you don't really lose anything if Nat goes into Mandibuzz on the Earth Power. And it obviously hits what's in front of you. Now here, Ajna is just sludge waving on the Vaporeon as it just scalds. Clicks Thunder into the Vaporeon, and honestly, Ajna should just Thunder again here, because Nat cannot afford to go hard Nidoqueen here and sack it to just a potential Earth Power due to how threatening Verizian is with that thing gone. Like an SDZ grass set would literally 6-0 the team, especially if it's like got Stone Edge as a filler, with only the threat of Ditto revenging it to stave it back. And like obviously he's got his own threats into the thing. I mean pivots into the thing. And so that Ajna elects to Earth Power here, but that's why I think Thunder was fine, because Nat absolutely cannot afford to risk Nidoqueen in that situation. So either Nat's gonna go into Necrozma, which only gets hit marginally harder by Earth Power, or she's just gonna stay in and sack the Vaporeon. So the Nidoqueen goes down. The Blastoise comes in. Nat elects to protect on the Dark Pulse, and it's at 26 now, so it's probably a roll to kill with Dark Pulse. And then Nat does end up getting the roll, which is up. So it looks like Nat's probably going to get her Vaporeon back in this situation, which is pretty bad for Ajna, as like I said earlier, it doesn't have any things that like taken status, but actually Nat elects to go directly into Necrozma, so Aerodactyl could definitely pose a threat at this point, if you can get it in at the right moment. But the issue is nothing really gives it opportunities, except maybe like a slightly, like, nothing gives it opportunities because everything basically takes a hit and smashes it back, or just outspeeds and kills in Nidoqueen's case. And Nat looks like she's just Photon Geysering off to chip away at the Blastoise, and Ajna ends up getting a pretty meaningful crit, because otherwise this thing would have been dead to rocks. And the Necrozma probably would have still been alive and been able to put in a bit more work. And then moving on, Nidoqueen just comes in. It outspeeds the Blastoise and kills it with Sludge Wave, which leads me to believe the Nidoqueen is Scarf, as I guessed earlier, because Modest Blastoise is not a set that anyone uses in the current metagame. So obviously Nidoqueen cannot naturally outspeed it otherwise. And now Ajna just comes in and Aqua Jets, knowing that it's gonna do a ton to this thing. And like I said, that damage leads me to believe that's definitely a choice band Jellicipod. And if you're wondering why emergency exit didn't activate after Sludge Wave, it's because Sheer Force's ability to cancel secondary effects also applies to emergency exit. So Nido Queen can't force out Jellicipod. Um, that's actually a mechanic I've messed up myself, so I just wanted to point it out here. And now, obviously, Ajna is just gonna Aqua Jet again here, and just try and get as much chip damage as possible. Or he's gonna go into Metagross instead. Interesting. And one thing I want to note there, well, it came up, but that Nat did not, like I said earlier, did have counter to tech versus physical attackers, but it didn't protect versus the Aqua Jet Dead to Rocks lock Golisopod, which means it's 100% rocking something different in the last slot, either like Earthquake for Salazzle or something like Iron Head to not be a sitting duck against stuff like stuff just like sub users and such that like normally eat seismic tosses. And now Metagross is down, and all of a sudden Ajna's position looks much worse. Pod is dead to rocks, Blastoise is dead. The Virizion is like his only shot at winning, but between Ditto, Mandibuzz, and Nidoqueen, it does not look like it's going to get an opportunity to win here. And obviously the Aerodactyl's had its choice band knocked off, so it can't really kill anything besides. It can't even. I don't even know if it can kill Registeel from 41. It might be a roll, honestly, but it doesn't even 2-kill the Mandibuzz, so just looks very dire for him. He goes into Veriz and just Focus Blast here, not wanting to catch a Toxic. And Nat goes into Mandibuzz. Ajna sacks the Pod as a Brave Birds, goes into Aerodactyl here. And now, if what I said about it being Fizz Def for fighting types is true, yup, it is going to avoid the 2-KO from Stone Edge, barring crits. So Ajna would need a crit here, he doesn't get it, and at this point the game is basically unwinnable for him. And as it's Focus Blast, he can't even do nonsense like pivoting into this thing on knockoff and killing with Con Crush or something dumb like that. And then, yeah, and then so this endgame is just Nat kind of roosting up with this to avoid some nonsense with Z fights. Calm Mind Veriz being able to do some BS and win. As I believe it takes a hit from Nidoqueen at full. And you could also, it's just like better safe than sorry, right? As Nat just like roosts the last 2 turns on Stone Edge, and then on Aerial Ace knocks off, takes out the Aerodactyl, and Virizion has to, right here, Z fight. Yep, as that does, obviously you can see it would have killed if Nat didn't keep roosting in those situations. So, Nat ends up winning this game. Basically, looking at the team structure, Ajna played a bit presumptively about how Nat was going to conduct her game plan, and that ended up costing him heavy, with losing Nidoqueen for no reason, losing Metagross to counter Registeel and such. Whereas Nat definitely played patiently, knowing that she had the text to prevent herself from getting overwhelmed by the Virizion, as the Scarf Queen and the Ditto could have beaten an SD variant very easily and choke pointed, keeping the Mandibuzz healthy to prevent even a Calm Mindset from winning. And overall, this is a very well played game for Nat, and she prepped quite well, having strong answers to basically all of Ajna's favorites. Um, and you know, solid game from both, and I look forward to seeing more highlight RU action in future weeks. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope I'll see you again next time.